Something special has arrived in Totnes. For years, this old milk processing plant has lain empty, complete with its iconic chimney stack and a Grade 2 listed pumping house built by Brunel. It could all be about to change though.
Oh yay! Oh yay! Oh yay! Would you please all be so good as to come for order?
Today, on Thursday, September 25th, 2014 at 1 o'clock, we gather at the gates of the former Dawes Creamery, Cowan Gate, Unigate, Dairy Crest Site, depending on how old you are, to announce that a historic agreement has been reached in relation to its future. In 2007, this site closed and valuable jobs in our community were lost. Around that time, Atmos Totnes, initially as a sustainable business park group, began as a community campaign with the intention of working to bring the site into community ownership and to put the community in charge of what happens here.
What have you achieved here today?
Well, so far, just managing not to cry when I read out my statement, because it just feels like it's just an amazing kind of achievement. I don't think any of us thought that this day would come, and there's been so much dedicated work behind the scenes just to get through that negotiation stage and just really kind of winning people over to our way of thinking.
It's the culmination of 7 years long hard work and astonishing patience practice for a group of us who realised when the site shut in 2007 that there was a huge opportunity to do something else with this really key site. So I think what's happened, what's been achieved here today is that we've finally been able to tell people what's happening, which is a national first. The first time a community right to build order will happen, where the community can determine what happens on this site, working together on one part of the site with a developer, but what they can do is set by the local community, by the community right to build order, which is really exciting. And it's so desperately needed at this time in the history of this town, where we are under siege by numerous appalling, inappropriate, profit-driven developments which actually yield nothing that the community actually wants. So this is an alternative story. This is Totnes' Plan B.
Yeah, never had any doubts. 7 years worth of never had any doubts.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously. We went to the local authority 7 years ago, came out of the meeting with the local authority and realised that we needed to be players in the game. To be players in the game, we need to own the site. So we've worked over the last 7 years to get agreements in place where effectively this community can own the site.
There's about 4 of us who've been involved in this for about the last 5 years, who developed a kind of over our dead body sort of approach to this project. And actually a big part of the process of getting to this stage was the first 5 years the engagement with Dairy Crest just didn't really work. They didn't really take us seriously. And about 2 years ago they came down and met us in Sarah Wollaston's office, and I think it was once they saw that over our dead body look in our eyes, and they got a sense that, and they said, well, we realised that we have to work with you partly because we haven't got much choice really. And at that moment it shifted from being an if to being a when, and since that point we've just been driving it forward. So this is this announcement today is a testament to a huge amount of kind of persistence but belief, like nothing else. We didn't want a little here, we didn't want a travel lodge here, we wanted something that actually really spoke to and represented this community and what it needs and what its wants are, but also showcased what we can do in this town and why this town is different and special, and we really will need to celebrate that.
Did you ever expect it for one Totnes Pound? Did you think you might have to raise millions?
Well, at the very beginning of this whole process, 7 years ago, the very first negotiations we had, we offered to take the whole site off their hands for one Totnes Pound, which actually, I think, looking back in hindsight, it might have saved them a few quid actually. But our sense was that actually, as a community, we have a lot more power over these things than we might imagine we have. We were able to say this community, all the people who came out when Jonathan Dimbleby was here, all the people who came out when Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall was here, all the people who came out to show their support at the public meetings we had, they were just as capable of coming out to stop anything else from happening. And I think, when you're able to show that level of community desire, I think that's a very difficult thing to stand in the way of for very long.
Familiar for now, but what this development eventually looks like will be up to the community. Chris Mockridge from the Atmos project for totnesmonster.org.